How are you, Bones?
Dan, good morning. Shalomi homies, good morning. Wow, that is a great question, Dan. What if I said Tim Duncan in New York? Would that be good? Or Tim Duncan with a pulse? Either way, I'm going to say Tim Duncan's career over Vince's career.
Because Vince is exciting. Those dunks are great, but Duncan's one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah, isn't there a kind of a moralistic tone to that question or thought process about the winning part of it when it gets down to it? I mean, if you went back to the early part of Tim's career and watched the way that he played, and you're excited about the dunking aspect of the game, TD would put it on some guys down low. Now, was it Vince Carter like? No, because Vince is, maybe other than Dr. J and Michael, the best dunker the game's ever seen, and I'm probably the best dunker the game's ever seen. And so if that excites you, have at it. But Tim's career has been remarkable.
Did guys try to get in Duncan's face during games? Because Tim doesn't show any emotion whatsoever.
Well, it didn't work for the shorter guys.
But like Kevin Garnett, I was always told, try to get in Duncan's face.
Yeah. Tim's pretty much nonplussed about everything. Like there isn't really too much that gets him riled up either way. Even if guys are getting after him, he doesn't react, and even if he's getting after them, he doesn't react all that much. It's just you can't get into him. It's just no way to do that. I kind of am thinking about this question on the other side of it, Dan, with like, if I asked you if you would rather have the career of Brent Musburger or Howard Cosell, where would you go?
I'd go Brent Musburger.
Good call.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send Fritzy a photo. I've been out doing the playoffs, and it's kind of fun because a lot of the people who are in production for the playoff games have been around the business for a very long time. They're very, very good at their job. It's pretty amazing, some of the stories that they have. But Howie Singer, who's a producer for what we're doing during the playoffs right now, has worked for the MSG network for years and years and years, and he found a picture of Rick covering the 1976 NBA Finals with Brent Musburger.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send that photo to Fritzy, and you guys can have a look at one of the most amazing leisure suits you've ever seen.
So this is your dad, 1976. That was Celtics, Phoenix Suns?
That is Celtics Suns. Great call. And, which is weird because at the time my dad was still playing, so he would finish and be eliminated from the playoffs at Golden State and then get to do, the finals.
Well, the previous year they won the title.
That is correct.
Yeah, but we were talking about this, and I tell the Danettes about this. It feels like today's big man would rather embarrass himself at the line than to actually lower himself to try to do underhand, as your dad did it and shot over 90% from the line. If I took Drummond, I mean, all of these big men, DeAndre Jordan, and I just said, let's try underhand. Do you think they would do it if I said I can improve you to 65% as opposed to 50 or less than that? Would they be willing to do that, even though how they would look shooting underhanded?
Well, I know Shaq tells me the story about when Dale Brown was coaching him at LSU, that he brought my dad to LSU and, had the idea to have him go ahead and try to shoot the underhand thing, and he did for a day. And the funny thing is, Shaq tells the story, and he goes, man, I started to shoot the underhand. I made a couple free throws, but I was like, I'm not doing that. All right. Hey, okay, so you were better at it, but you're not going to do it.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. I don't know what the connection is to not doing it. I don't know if, you said it interestingly where you said lower yourself to shooting underhand. That's the way everybody used to shoot. That's the way everybody used to shoot from the perimeter when the game first started. A lot of the guys from the outside would stop. If you go back to the old tapes, jump stop, two hands, get the ball at the waist and throw the ball towards the basket. And so, it's very peculiar that some guys or that nobody will adopt it. I think there's one college player at Louisville that shot it this year, underhand. This season. Which is interesting.
We're talking to Brent Barry, NBA TV analyst. He's got tonight's game between the Thunder and the Mavericks. By the way, getting a little chippy there with these two teams, with Durant and Russell Westbrook and Dirk getting knocked down. And what do you make of what will happen tonight here?
Well, I think that Dallas has, as much as Rick Carlisle, who was brilliant after Game 3, I don't know if you watched any of the press conference when Rick Carlisle was asked a question by one of the Oklahoma City beat writers who had said something along the lines of, Rick, have you seen a change in the Oklahoma City team's demeanor, especially Serge Ibaka and Enes Kanter making it dirty down there for your guys? And Rick Carlisle responded by, I'm sorry, what's your name? And the reporter said his name. And then Rick said, and you said that those two guys, Kanter and Ibaka, played dirty? And the guy said, yeah, that's what I asked. And he goes, okay, I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. So I think that what Dallas has to do is make the game physical in that way. And I know Rick Carlisle sort of put it on Oklahoma City, but with all of the decimation with the guard play and the injuries that they have right now, Dirk's knee even bothering him before going into Game 3. Now maybe Mesri out because he had a little hip thing in the fourth quarter for them. They're just running out of bodies. And so the more and more that Dallas can kind of slow it up and be physical to try to get Oklahoma City off of their game, the better. But they're just outmanned. There's just no way that they can slow down Westbrook and Durant, who actually in the series, Dan, have not played great. Mm-hmm. It's really been Kanter and Ibaka and Kanter, Ibaka, and Waiters who've been remarkable in the series, which is a good sign for Oklahoma City, with all things considered, possibly tonight moving on to play San Antonio, to have those guys be in a confident mode.
Lakers fire Byron Scott. Is this Luke Walton's job?
I mean, I just don't see how Luke is not the guy for them, and how hard they go after Luke to go back to Southern California and coach up the Lakers. That's the guy they would love to have. It's going to be an interesting decision for Luke Walton.
But don't you think they fire Byron Scott because they know that Luke Walton wants to do it? Like they agree in principle? Is that far-fetched?
I don't know. With the Lakers over the past 5 years, could you see that maybe they're not sure?
Well, they could screw it up in the front office. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I have really no inside information with regards to that. I wish I did, to tell you, but that job would be so attractive to Luke and so difficult to turn down, given who it is that's there, where they are, and where they need to go, and the type of communicator that Luke is. The way that he would connect to that young core down there, I think would be fantastic.
Before I let you go, I mentioned that Steph Curry getting hurt, wanting to come back, couldn't play in the second half. But usually an athlete knows when something's different, with their body. Do you think Steph Curry knows the severity of that knee injury right now before the MRI results?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think that injury, and maybe you guys have. There's obviously enough athletes in the room with you right now that you guys maybe have had that little knee knock on the inside of your knee. Maybe you're playing with your buddies where you bump that knee and you're not exactly sure what's going on in there. But definitely, given that the game before he was hurt and that this one was restricting him in some way. I mean, there's two ways that can go. There's two CLs down there. There's an M and an A. And if one is one way, there's no way he's coming back. And if one's another, it could be a rest situation on the ACL side of things, where it would be a couple weeks. And could Golden State survive a couple weeks? That would be real interesting. I just can't believe, and keep scratching in my head, that with the NBA playoffs starting and all the things that the second round was going to offer up and will offer up with regards to the teams that are involved in the Western Conference, that Steph Curry is the guy that's hurt. I mean, it's just, it really has taken a little bit of wind out of the sails for me.
Good to catch up with you, Bones. Have fun tonight with the Thunder and Mavs. That's 8 Eastern on TNT, a doubleheader tonight, followed by the Clippers and the Blazers.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, buddy.
Hope you guys are well.
All right, it's Brent Barry, former slam dunk champ.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.